Hi everybody, I'm Jamie. Thanks for getting lost and finding your way here. If it's your first time, welcome. If it's your second or third time or beyond, thanks for hanging out and spending time. I love football and fantasy football, and I like to do a weekly rundown of the last week's games, some of my pickups for the upcoming week if you've got a vacancy on your bench, some pick'ems, so who I think is going to win for all the next week's games, and then some DFS plays that I'm targeting. Before I get started, I got to represent for the Oakland Raiders. Most people are saying that they think the Raiders are back, and I think that they might be right. They looked really good on Monday Night Football against the Broncos. And yes, this is a Jordy Nelson jersey. And yes, I do have an unfortunate talent for getting jerseys of people that either retire, leave the team shortly after, or the whole team leaves. The list of those jerseys includes Danny Amendola for the Rams before he got traded, Todd Gurley before the whole team left. That one will never be worn again. And Jordy Nelson for the Packers, Jordy Nelson for the Oakland Raiders before he retired. I've got Mark Ingram. I got Mark Ingram, I think, last year at the beginning of the year before he got traded to go to the Ravens. And then this is my personal favorite. My husband got me a Golden Tate jersey. And a day before I got it in the mail, I found out that he was being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. So if you are looking at getting any jerseys and want to know who not to get, comment below and I'll let you know whether I'm thinking about getting them, and you should avoid those jerseys. Now, my picks and my pick'ems and all that, all the advice, ironclad, don't worry about that. That is something that you can trust. Of course, play at your own risk, but I feel a lot more confident about those than my jersey selection. So you can feel confident in that too. So let's get into the weekly recap, some of the key takeaways from this past week. So the Raiders, I already said it. With all of the fuss around Antonio Brown, I've got to say that I'm impressed that they came out and took care of business because it was quite the distraction, and I think that's a lot of pressure when you've got your elite number one guy that you spent all this money on in the offseason. Well, I guess they really didn't end up spending much money on him, but all that talent leaving, and then you still find a way to really get everybody involved in the offense, including Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, the list goes on. Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is the real deal. I'm really glad I drafted that guy. But I must admit that I have to eat my words on Tyrell Williams. Yes, he has never been really a true number one guy, and he's getting his chance, and he really came out guns a-blazing. So Tyrell Williams was very impressive and looked very good. Of course, sustainability throughout the whole season is not always easily done, but it's going to be also interesting to see how Hunter Renfrow develops as a slot guy in that offense, and Darren Waller looked really good. Last year, Jared Cook was a Pro Bowl selection, so Derek Carr really has a strong affinity for his tight end, and Darren Waller has some talent, so I think it's going to be really interesting. I had Jordan Reed, so I had to drop him this week, picked up Darren Waller, and I was not displeased about starting him. He gave me, I think, 14 points, so that's pretty decent production for really just a pickup that most people haven't heard of. So the Raiders, I thought, top to bottom, looked pretty good, and I was impressed. So I think in that division, they're looking like a very competitive contender. The Ravens. So a lot of hustle and bustle about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson did things I did not know that he was capable of doing in the NFL. Last year, he did not look good to me. He really didn't. No offense, Lamar Jackson. But I also think there's something to be said about getting a chance and actually having time to prepare and play in a system, and I think that suited him well. And I also think having a strong running back in Mark Ingram and a couple of threats around him is going to definitely play to his benefit. Mark Ingram had a fantastic day, and while I was watching the game amongst all the other games, I was able to see some of the stats they put on the television, and and they said that he leads all the NFL since 2014 in yards per carry at 3.7 or 3.9, whatever he has, and is second in touchdowns behind Todd Gurley since 2014. And I'm not surprised. What I am surprised by is how late he goes in drafts, all things considered. As I've said, the Saints are going to miss him, and I think that could be the extra something that might prevent them from, a few key first downs, because I just don't know Latavius Murray can do that. or Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara is a stud talent, but they're definitely going to miss him. The Ravens look very good. I'm not completely sold on them quite yet. I know everybody's talking about Marquise Brown. It is early. We shall see if he's really going to be their long haul kind of guy, but we'll get to that in the pickups because I know everybody's got him at the top of the list. Let's go on to the Jaguars. I was really disappointed in the Jaguars. Everybody knows I've got this like Nick Foles crush. And I was so sad that he's on IR now. I really thought he was going to be I thought he was going to actually give them a chance to be very competitive this year with some of the talent that they have, but without him out there, I don't think that the AFC South is going to be seeing the Jaguars leading the way. So I wish him the best in the future, but I was sad to see that, disappointed. The Titans, however, in that division surprised me, and they look a lot better than I thought that they would. And of course, Derrick Henry, I'm coming around, I'm proven wrong, but spurty kind of guy, like 75-yard reception, of course. So those statistical outliers, we'll see if those can sustain. But the Browns really disappointed me. The Browns, I am not sold on. Baker Mayfield is a competitor, and I feel like he's going to try to keep people in games if they're close, but I mean, I didn't really see them put points on the board last year, enough for me to feel comfortable in it. Jarvis Landry looked pretty good, and I thought maybe with having two really solid wide receivers and Nick Chubb that they would be a little bit more competitive coming out, in the season, but they didn't look good. I think they could probably get things together, but hopefully it's not too late by the time they do. The Redskins actually looked a lot better than I thought that they would. But Case Keenum is also a winner, I think. I think he always finds a way to make his team as good as they can be with not always the best weapons around him. And I guess that's the St. Louisan in me that loves Nick Foles and Case Keenum. But the Redskins, they're not great overall, but I thought that he kept them in the game. So I think the Redskins will be interesting. And I think that they'll kind of be one of those teams that could pull an upset win this year. The Cowboys, they were way better than I thought they would be. Now, we'll see if Dak can keep that up. Sometimes when you know that your contract's being considered and being discussed, you tend to throw some bombs. And I was actually really impressed with Zeke and how well he played in game one without really being, that warm. So he came out well, and I think he's only going to get warmer and warmer and better as the season goes on. And I got to say that I was probably pretty wrong about Amari Cooper. Maybe this is the right system for him. Last year, I was disappointed that with as much of a veteran as he was, that he couldn't really get things done in Oakland. Now, sure, it's a new system and all that, but he just really didn't get going. And then, he had a few good games last year, and I tend to not take small sample sizes as, the word or, what's going to sustain across the whole season, but I mean, he looks like he is going to be an integral part of that offense. So maybe this is the right situation for him and the right quarterback throwing to him. So the Cowboys looked really good, and I'm thinking that they're going to be leading that division. So that's kind of my takeaway and some of the things that kind of stood out to me this week. Some pickups that I have for the week. Now, as I do pickups, I like to select people that I know I'm going to be able to keep for quite a few weeks and not just somebody that I'm going to have to drop unless I know that I'm not losing somebody that I really want to keep for, 3 weeks down the road once they're healthy. So if you've got somebody hurt or you're looking to pick somebody up the wide receiver position, there's two people that I really think are serviceable for the full season. And those two people are Deshaun Jackson and Jamison Crowder. Maybe I'm crazy, I don't know. But Jamison Crowder had 17 targets. The biggest problem with Jamison Crowder in the past has been he's never really gotten that many targets. He's always been a really deep threat kind of guy. I look at him as like the Hoover above land. Like he's very, very consistent, and he's a deep threat kind of guy, but he would always get 5 or 6 targets when he was in Washington with Kirk Cousins because they always had people around him. Even with Demaryius Thomas going there, which just got announced today, I like Jamison Crowder. He got 17 targets. That's crazy. So I guess we'll see, I guess I need to heed my own advice. Small sample size, but I'm a fan of him and what I've seen in the past, and I think he's going to be good. Deshaun Jackson just picked up right where he left off in Philly, so I thought that he looked really good. I actually liked the volume that he was getting, and that's been my biggest concern recently with Deshaun Jackson, is he's really just kind of like, he'll get 4 targets, maybe he'll get a 70-yard bomb, maybe he won't. And I don't always feel great about that. For running backs, I really like Carlos Hyde and I like Chris Thompson. For Carlos Hyde, not really having that much time to get into the system, I thought week 1 he looked very good. He's going to be there on the ground kind of guy. Duke Johnson, I think, is a compliment, and he's going to be getting catches too. So I like Carlos Hyde, and I like Chris Thompson. If you're in a PPR league, Chris Thompson looks good. The Redskins are probably going to be fighting for life, and they're going to be throwing the ball. Chris Thompson's your guy for that. Some other people that I know people are high on right now are Marquise Brown. I mean, I think he had like 5 catches, and that part kind of concerns me. He was low. It was not double digits, but for what he had, he produced well with it. And I mean, the Ravens, they got to throw the ball to somebody, and I think he could be the best talent out of what they have. So if Marquise Brown is there and you need somebody that could be a long shot and, you know, it's not going to hurt you if he doesn't fare well, then pick him up. Why not? He did fantastically well this week. Some other people that were interesting to me were Chris Conley and John Brown. John Brown had 10 targets. Chris Conley had 7. At the tight end position, I like Darren Waller a lot. So if you need somebody, he's available in most leagues. Somebody that I don't really know that I like, although people are high on him right now, is John Ross. At some point, AJ Green probably going to be on the field, and he's not going to be getting that many targets, I don't think. But if you need somebody short term, could be interesting. Danny Amendola had 13 targets. Danny Amendola's big problem normally is that he doesn't get that many targets, and that is kind of interesting to me. Of course, I've already stated that I'm a Danny Amendola jersey holder and a fan. He was a number 1 guy in St. Louis before he left, and since then he's been more of a supporting cast guy. Almost had a chance in Miami to, you know, do something. Had a couple good games. So my concern with Danny Amendola has been the consistency, but 13 targets is quite a bit, and that's something to kind of take a look at. I don't know. So on to my pick'ems. Bucks Panthers, I'm picking the Panthers. Vikings Packers, I'm picking the Vikings. The Vikings looked really, really great. I thought their offense was firing on all cylinders. The Packers, I think, are still kind of getting things going. I was very disappointed in Devontae Adams. So I think that there's room to grow for the Packers, and I think while they're growing, the Vikings are not the team you want to play. Colts and then Titans. That division rivalry is going to be an interesting one with the Titans playing as well as they are, but I thought the Colts did some interesting things. I liked Jacoby Brissett. I liked how much he got T.Y. involved in the offense, and Marlon Mack looked great. So I'm picking the Colts. I think the Colts are going to bounce back. Maybe it's my partialness and the fact that I lived in Indy for so long and I'm a Colts fan, but I'm picking the Colts. I think they're going to pull one out this week. It's like, you know, I love the underdog, so it's underdog week for me. Seahawks Steelers, I'm going with the underdog. Going with the Steelers. I think the Steelers bounce back. I don't think they start the season 0-2, although the Seahawks are a fierce competitor. We'll see, but I like the Steelers. Chiefs Raiders, I'm going with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are too good to lose to the Raiders, I think, with how good Pat Mahomes is and how well balanced. LeSean McCoy looked pretty good for the Chiefs too, right out of the gate. So going with them. Bears Broncos, underdog week again, going with the Broncos. I think they're similar teams, ironically, and I think they're both getting their offense started, are going. The Bears offense looked decent. I thought Allen Robinson looked a lot better than most people thought he might. Stephanie Bell called that one, actually. And I thought Allen Robinson was the old Allen Robinson that we missed and love. But I'm going with the Broncos. Maybe I'll regret that. Rams Saints, holy a vengeance matchup here. I'm going with the Saints. I think that they take this revenge to the nth degree. I have to admit, I was watching the Saints game, and I had a hearty laugh when I saw that dozens of people were wearing referee jerseys. It was hilarious. So the Saints, I think that they're going to make a statement in this game to show that they should have been in the Super Bowl last year and that they are capable of beating the Rams. So hopefully Drew Brees makes that happen. I love how politically correct he is when he talks about it. He's so respectful. But they got hosed. It happens. So you just got to do what you can and control what you can control. So I think the Saints are going to control this one for sure. Falcons, Eagles, again, it's underdog week. I'm going with the Falcons. The Falcons, I think that they're too talented offensively to go 0-2. And I was a little bit disappointed in Devontae Freeman and how little they involved him in the offense. Ito Smith looked pretty great. I was having flashes from Tevin Coleman. So they've got some depth at the running back position, and their wide receiver core is solid. I like the Falcons. Niners, Bengals, I'm going with the Niners. That one's a pretty boring one. Pats, Dolphins, gosh, it's going to be the Pats. The Dolphins will be throwing the ball quite a bit to try to catch up. Giants, Bills, going with the Giants. See, the Bills, I don't think they're going to put that many points on the board for the most part. The Giants, I think they're always going to put points on the board, but if they got somebody that can outscore them, they're not going to win. But I think they'll win this one. Cowboys, Redskins, going with the Cowboys. I'm not going to doubt the Cowboys again for the second week in a row. Ravens, Cardinals, I'm going with the Ravens. The Ravens have like the easiest schedule the first two games. Crazy, so they're going to be 2-0. Texans, Jags, it's going to be the Texans. The Texans look pretty good. Jets, Browns, underdog week. I'm going with the Jets. But who is the underdog in that game after this past week? I don't know, but I'm going with the Jets. So DFS plays, real quickly, going with Tom Brady. That man, playing against Miami, I'm pairing him up with Julian Edelman. So I like that, and I like to complement my DFS plays. Sony Michel did not have a great showing. I was very disappointed in that, and I picked him in like 2 leagues. But only started him in 1, thankfully. But that hurt. I actually think he'll do better. Mark Ingram had 2 touchdowns on the ground against Miami, so maybe Sony Michel will do well. Problem with the Patriots is they've got like running back on running back on running back, and Rex Burkhead's healthy, and he was involved, and they got James White. So Tom Brady is going to be a busy man on Sunday, I think, again, or whenever they play. Lamar Jackson at Arizona. I mean, for DFS, I think I'd pair him up with Marquise Brown. I go a little bit deeper in the DFS plays because I make up for it wherever I'm getting a good bargain. So I like Mark Ingram too if I'm complimenting that in maybe another league. If I miss on, the passing side, with the QB wide receiver matchup, I'll probably win on the running back side. So I like to cover and hedge my bets when I play DFS. If I'm going dumpster diving, I'm probably getting like Fitzmagic and Devontae Parker. I don't know. It just stuck out to me this week. Now, the only problem there, I'm going to caveat this, is what happens if they bench Fitzmagic? Tongue twister. What happens if they bench Fitzmagic? And they could. Josh Rosen's there. That is a risk I take. But they're playing against the Patriots, and I think they're going to be down throwing the ball a lot. Some other running backs I like, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, and Marlon Mack. They're pretty cheap. Tight ends, Jimmy Graham, Delaney Walker, and Darren Waller. So that's week 1 in a nutshell. Good luck in week 2, everybody. I hope this helped, and thanks for hanging out.